Hello, good morning. So I will be recording this video for our topic, types of errors in Java. So unfortunately, we have not included this to our main topic, but I found it very important also for all students, especially in introductory programming course, to have this session or at least to know the different errors in Java, especially because you are dealing a lot of this, and also this is also to avoid this type of error in your current activities as well as in your future endeavors or programming activities in the programming language. So to start with, there are only two types of errors in Java: the runtime and the compilation. So the runtime error in Java are technically error encountered during runtime or execution of the program. So thus, the word runtime. So meaning, ay siya kapakita pag garan ang atong program. Okay? This means that the source code is successfully compiled and interpreted, and that is free from the syntax error. So the syntax error is another error under the compilation error, which we're going to discuss later. So what does it mean? So everything is good with the program. Walay na rong spelling, walay na case sensitive sa atong program. It's good to go for execution. Okay? So it happens during execution kapag runtime error. So some of its occurrences are when a user inputs a value different from the data type. Okay? So let me just show you how the error is being triggered. Okay? So for instance, we're going to have this one example. So I have already prepared this now already. So our problem here is to enter an integer number. So we are expecting a user input from the user. So since we are expecting user input, matik na, we're going to have the Java that scanner. Okay? As part of our import. Then inside our class, we're going to declare a variable. So for example, int, let's say input. Okay? It will be assigning to 0. So our problem is to enter an integer value. That is why we are using a data type na int. Okay. Since we are going to get a user input, we are going to create an object. So scanner object scan is equal to new scanner, then system dot in. Okay. So this is an object. Then we're going to print something to inform the user that he or she needs to enter a number. So let's say enter a number. Okay. Then let's proceed dayon with the assignment of the user input to the variable input. So since this is an integer, we are going to use the object scan, that next in. Okay. So when you try to run the code and it is a runtime error, you are not going to expect something error happening in our code, just like this one. It's completely running, walang problema. Okay? So once I'm going to enter 2, then the program exited, and the program runs according to how we write the codes. So once I'm going to run the program again, now I'm going to enter a value which is not an integer. So in our line 10 here, you are using the object scan that next in. So our program or Java is expected for us to enter an integer number. If I'm going to enter, for example, the word sad, then it will going to encounter an error. And this is an example of a runtime error. It's not triggered by our code, but most of the time it's triggered by our user input, especially if dili nagmatch ang atong data type from the user input to the expected data type nga mo handle or mo store sa iyaha. So what we're going to expect here is exception in thread. In Java, if we encounter the word exception, it means unhandled error. Okay? You're going to encounter this one, especially in your higher programming. But the main thing here is this one. This input mismatch exception. Okay, so meaning Java encounters an input mismatch given that we are expected, or the Java program is expecting to enter or to receive an integer but have given a string na value. Again, I'm going to run the program once again. Let's try, how about kapag we are entering a double value to an integer data type. So for example, I'm going to enter 20.50. Now this is a double data type, but our code is strictly for integer. So I'm going to enter, again, it will going to encounter another exception, input mismatch exception, the same thing as kanina. And again, this is considered as well as what we call as a runtime error. Okay, so I hope you understand that one. The second type of error is what we call as the compilation error. The compilation error has two parts. The first is the syntax error, which is grabbing a common, and the second one is the logical error. Let's start with the syntax error first. So the syntax error is a rule that defines, or the syntax rather, is the rule that defines the structure of instruction in a programming language. Regardless of what programming language you are using, there is what we call a syntax, and ang iyahang counterpart, which is semantics, understanding how our syntax is executed. Now, this defines how the instruction in programming language is written. That's what we have syntax. So for example, there is a specific syntax to declare a variable. There is a specific syntax to declare a class. So that's the word public, the keyword class, and the class name. Kapag ibaliktad nimo, let's say you start with the class name followed by the public, then last yung keyword na class. That is exactly what we call as the syntax error. Okay? Meaning, wala na follow ang rules niya for execution for our instruction ni Java na program. Okay? Now, for instance, the declaration of variable must be defined starting with a data type, followed by the identifier and its default value. Okay? So dapat, pag mag-declare ta, data type, then variable name, then value. That specific order. Kapag maguba na siya ng order, we will going to encounter what we call as compilation error, and to be specific, that is under the syntax error. Okay? Once the programmer fails to follow this specific format, this syntax error will going to occur. Note that when we encounter a syntax error, the program will not be compiled rather, and will not run. Okay. For instance, let's try this program here. Okay, so the problem here is to print hello world. Grabe ka basic. This is a very elementary na programming. So once we print hello world, let's system that out, that print. Okay, simple. Then we type hello world. Semicolon. Then we try to run. Okay, now the code just gives us hello world without any problem. However, let's say for example, I use a small letter S instead of capital or a tawag ani, an uppercase the letter S for my system. And when I'm going to run it, I will going to encounter what we call as the syntax error. Let's wait. Okay. Now, this is exactly what we call as a syntax error. The syntax error will not compile the program and definitely will not run the program. So as you can see, di na ito makita ang ato ang hello world. Okay? Meaning, gi-interrupt ang execution niya kaya nag-error siya during compilation, which make the program will not run because of the identified nga syntax na error. And this small letter S is just a mere nga, sir, capitalization na siya. But still, it's part of the keywords and rules of the syntax of the program. So I'm going to change this one back to S, capital letter S, or uppercase letter S. Then the program runs smoothly or correctly as expected na dayon. Okay? For a while lang, yun, hello world. Another syntax error is the missing of what we call as the semicolon. So once we begin to run the program, it will again encounter what we call as the syntax error. So meaning wala siya nagpadayon kay naay missing. So naa may ginahatag ang compiler nato ano og hint and explanation kung asa ang error. So expected semicolon aha daw siya gina-expect, meaning after king anong gina-point na niya diri sa ubos. Okay? So that's the point of this one. Okay. So for example kanina, for example, let's say for example, another syntax error is, let's say, int area. This is common sa itong exam last time. Okay? Yun. Tapos, let's say area is equal to what? So that will be area is equal to 1 plus 1. Okay. Now, remember, Java is case sensitive. So when you run the program, I'm just using the word area, not to be confused with the purpose of the area lang ha. Just to be reminded, siguro, some of the students na nagka-error aning part. Okay, now, so what happens here is it cannot find symbol. Ano yung symbol na hindi niya nakita? The symbol of area. Or this one is exactly wala na declare si variable area. Okay? Why wala na declare si variable area? On line 6, gi-declare si area but small letter A. In line 7, we use the variable area but now it's capital letter A. Now again, Java is case sensitive, meaning an uppercase is not equal to lowercase regardless kung pareho silang spelling. So simply, area na small letter A is not the same with area na capital letter A. And that is one of the rules na na-violate nato when coding. And that is exactly what we call as a syntax error. Now, one thing atong remember kapag syntax error, it will not run. Mura na siya ang clear and ang iyahang murag identifying factor niya. Once we encounter a syntax error, the program will not run. Kung sa runtime, muran ang program, interrupt niya during runtime. Okay? So this is exactly what we call as syntax error. Another syntax error that I also observed sa inyo during our last examination, I'm just going to insert na lang is how you declare the if na condition. Now, majority sa inyo since ang uban lang pero mag-codes. So for example, let's say area is greater than 10. Okay? Pero wala gibutangan og open curly brace. And when we declare a condition, especially sa if, the condition sa if na statement after sa parentheses should be followed with an open curly brace and ang partner niya na close curly brace. Okay? Ang uban sa inyo ang gibuhat is a semicolon. And this is not exactly how we declare a condition, especially in if in Java. Okay, so these two, we're going to trigger what we call as the syntax error. So again, if we define something, especially sa condition, after the parentheses, open curly brace, and yung partner na close curly brace. Okay? Tapos, ang uban na gisabit na codes, na missing ang duha ka curly braces. So these two will trigger what we call as syntax error. Okay? Another also example sa mga syntax error na nakita na ako is ang ilahang class is gipangalan og main with small letter m. Now, if this is our declaration of our class, this will going to trigger an error because main is already used for the main method itself. Okay? Again, Java is case sensitive. So pag i-capital letter M na nimo na siya, it will work for as long as ang atoang tao pangalan sa atoang Java file is also main. Okay? So, I guess that's the thing lang na remember na ako or ma-remember na ako during errors also. By the way, just remember kapag na I open nga parentheses, nagid na siya partner na close nga parentheses. Pag na I open na curly brace, there should be a partner na close curly brace. That is the thing na dapat always ninyo i-remember, especially going forward with the programming in condition and repetitive nga mga control structures on chapter number 6. Okay, I guess we are down to the last type of error, which is what we call as the logical error. Okay, now, among the three types of errors, ito lang ang dili obvious na error. Okay? Why? The logical error, sometimes called as what we call as the semantic. The semantic is more on how the program behaves or how the program outputs according to the problem. Okay? Unlike other types of errors, logic error executes without interruption or walay error nga makita nato sa iyahang compilation. The syntax error will not execute the program. The runtime stops the execution of the program, while the logical error seems no error has been detected. But typically, it hinders the correct or expected behavior and the execution of the program. Now, to put this into layman's term, sayop ang atong gigamit nga parameter, sayop atong gigamit ng operator, sayop atong gigamit na logic sa atong program. Sakto ang syntax, sakto ang gi-input, pero mali siguro ta gamit na operator. Isa sa pinaka-simplest na ko nga mahatag ani nga sample is when you are going to add two numbers. So if the instruction is to add two numbers, ano yung gamito nato na operator? Simple. It's addition or the plus sign. So pag nasayop ka, instead na plus imo gamiton, ang na-type nimo isang asterisk, which is for multiplication. Kung mo enter ang user og 1 and 2, ang result niya is 2. Na supposedly 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So does it solve the problem? Obviously, hindi. So, naisayop sa operator, wala nag-error ang program, but the expected result affects the program itself. Once you divide or once you compute for the average. So the average, yan, ay sample ng error today sa inyo ha. Logic error sa uban ninyo nga submission sa exam. If you can remember, one of the problem that I gave you is you are going to get the average of two numbers. Now, to get the average of two numbers, you need to add the two numbers first. Again, add the two numbers first. And ang sum adto nila, you divide it by 2. Ang gibuhat sa isa or duha ka buok na estudyante, so nakinukyaha gito sila definitely kay pareha magtuod, gi-divide niya into 10. So A plus B divide 10. So what happens there is sayop ang computation na nato pagkuha sa average. So that is exactly an example also of what we call as a logical error, again under compilation error. Let's have a quick sample. So 10. 10 ang x, 10 ang y. Then you have x plus y divided by 2. Then you have 10. Okay? Now, let's try to have it on a tawag ani or to trigger a logical error. So, wala na ako gibutangan og parentheses. So, meaning, by precedence rule, that will be 10 divided by 2 plus 10. So, once we run the code, or we run our program, okay. Now, have we encountered an error? Wala. Did the program executed? Yes. But we check on unsa ang result and expected sa atong program. So, kanina, when we put parentheses, that is, the result is 10. Now, the result is 15. Ano 15? Again, there will be y divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5 plus 10, the result is 15. Now, if you're going to ask, what is the average of x and y if the value of x is 10 and the value of y is 10? Definitely, the answer is 10, not 15. So, ingani ang problema sa logical error. If the programmer, wala kabalo, wala kamalay, nasayop ang iyang operations gigamit, now, the programmer might think na wala problema sa code, wala problema sa program. Now, this is a very big problem kapag you are making a very big program na, kay gamay nga sayop, gamay nga operation, it will transpire or it will going to backfire to a large na problem sa isa kadako nga system dayon. Okay? So again, consider also, you check your codes, you check also your execution and you-check also possible use cases or test cases kung run ta og program sa ato ang codes. So, again, kapag logical, you need to review, you need to check kung mano-mano kailangan you do mano-mano in checking the program. Kaya kung sa Binisaya pa, ang tawag nato aning logical error is dinanghag. Okay? Kaya dinanghag ta gamit og operations, dinanghag siguro ta kay wala nato nang realize nga dapat mo gamit ta og parentheses to trigger or at least to adjust the precedence rule ni Java. So once I'm going to put again the parentheses and run the program again, I will going to expect that I'm going to have the average na value is now 10. Okay? So if you have questions about these three types of errors, two types of errors rather, the runtime and the compilation, si runtime, ang error niya is you have the katong wala kayo nagmatch. We call that one as the runtime error. And si compilation na siya two parts, which is what we call as the syntax. The syntax, dili mo execute ang program. Dili mo run ang imong code. Okay? Whereas si runtime, nag-run imong code, tunga-tunga na interrupt, kaya nakakitag exception o nakakitag error. Okay? Si logical error, walay error sa program, pero naay error sa imong results. So again, if you have question, just comment na lang siguro for me to check and also to answer in our next class. Thank you and